Hello everybody, my name's Jill and I run a company called amoveablefeast. I've been doing that now for about 15 years and I live in Seer Green and I've lived here for the past 30 years. I'm going to make today for you a soup. It's a spinach and rocket soup with a chorizo and garlic garnish. It's going to have a parmesan tuile and some homemade focaccia bread. I'm going to start with the focaccia bread. It's one of the easiest breads to make, Italian, and it goes with everything, soups, sharing, and you can add what you like. I'm going to make today the traditional form. If you start adding herbs and things, it doesn't then become traditional. So we're going to start with 500 grams of strong white bread flour. I've used organic, and I'm going to add to that 10 grams of fine salt. I'm just going to give it a bit of a shake to incorporate the salt so I don't put the yeast straight onto the salt. To then use an easy blend salt, like so, and then I'm going to add the water and put it on the machine, which I'm going to knead for 10 minutes. I'm not going to bore you with that bit, but I'm telling you what I'm doing. So the water's going in, and I'm now going to put it on the machine, and I'm going to knead for 10 minutes and add a tablespoon of olive oil. So I've kneaded the dough for 10 minutes. It's now a lovely, smooth, silky dough. I know I said that I put in 10 grams of salt and some easy blend salt, but actually it was easy blend yeast, which I'm sure you realise. Anyway, so now I'm going to put the dough back in the bowl. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil over it, just so that we don't form a crust while it's rising. And then I'm going to cover it with olive oil, cling film, and put it in a nice warm place to rise and double in size. So I've got the dough and it's risen. I've just knocked it back. I'm now going to put it into the pan, and it's got to then stay there until it's risen again. And I'm going to get it into the right shape so I can move it into position. It's got to rise for about 30 minutes. I'm going to pop it into here. Try and spread it out with my fingers. It's really good to get these indentations into it because it gives the surface area a wider form and it makes it rise better, and you don't get any big pockets in one area and not another. I'm going to drizzle it with olive oil, a bit of sea salt and some fresh rosemary from the garden. So we're just about there. There we go. So we're now going to leave it to rise again. And then we'll drizzle it and get it all ready for the oven. Okay, so I'm now ready to put the focaccia in the oven. I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of olive oil when it comes out. A little bit of olive oil. I'm then going to put a bit of sea salt on top. Make it all nice and crunchy when it comes out. And then I'm going to put some fresh rosemary that I've had in the garden, to infuse it with a bit of flavour. And this is going to take about 20 minutes until its deliciousness has risen and cooked and ready to serve. So it's going in the oven now. So I'm going to now start on the soup, which is a spinach and rocket soup. I'm going to add the olive oil and butter to the pan to get warm while I chop up the onion and start the soup. Mind your fingers when you're doing this. Always a worry. We're going to fry the onion for a good 10 minutes to get it nice and caramelised and release all its sugars. And I'm going to add the garlic and the potatoes, and then we're going to get the stock in there to start the soup. The onions go in, let them frying, and then we're going to add the garlic. I'm going to add some black pepper with this. So I think black pepper and onions are a really good combination, and they cook well together. So a good grinding of black pepper. There we go. And we'll get that sizzling away nicely. Okay, so I bought this garlic mincer, crusher, whatever you want to call it, but it does the job beautifully. I bought it at the Chalfont St Giles Fair one year, and like all these little gadgets, I never thought it would work, but it does. So I'll show you what you do. You just go backwards and forwards, and it minces the garlic up beautifully. And you just take it right down to the last little bit, and then you just get this tiny little bit that you don't want to use, and you do the same again. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic, nicely minced, and that's going to go straight into my pan with the onions. There we go. Smelling absolutely divine now. Put that down, and in are going the potatoes, which we just diced up, so that they'll absorb all those flavours. Give them a good old stir around. Then I'm going to add the stock, put the lid on, and let that cook until the potatoes are tender. And so this is a good chicken stock. Obviously, if you want to make it vegetarian, use a good vegetarian stock. And then I'm going to pop the lid on and let that cook away. So while I'm waiting for the onions to do their thing and caramelise nicely, which they are, I'm just going to show you how to make the tuiles that are going to go on the top of the soup bowls. Grated some parmesan with a nice fine blade, and I've put on a cutter just to give us a nice circle. So I've put some parmesan in, just spread it around so that it coats the bottom of the pan, and then lift it off and do the same again. I've got some parmesan here ready to go. Put it in the middle. Just spread it around so you've got a nice even layer inside the ring. A bit more in there. Lift it off carefully so you don't make a mess, which I did on this one. And then we're ready to go into the oven at 200 degrees for about 5 minutes till it's nice and golden brown and bubbling. You can take it out and let them cool a little bit before you try and lift them off the plate. So we're now going to add the spinach and the rocket to the soup. The potatoes have softened down. And they've absorbed all those delicious flavours. I'm using baby spinach here. I'm going to pop that in. 150 grams of spinach there, washed and ready. It can be quite gritty spinach, so you have to be quite careful that if you buy it and you want to use it immediately, make sure it's washed. Otherwise it needs a right good rinse. So that's the spinach has gone in. It wilts immediately, and now I'm going to put the rocket in. It's a lovely peppery rocket. Again, that will just need a few minutes to wilt down, and then we're going to blend it with my soup stick, adjust the seasoning, and that will be the soup ready to go. So we'll leave that for a minute. So I've just taken the tuiles out of the oven, and you can see that they're lovely and golden brown. So I'm going to set them aside now to cool before I lift them off the tray. And I'm going to leave them flat because I want them to balance on the side of the soup bowl. Right, I'm going to make the chorizo, chilli and garlic dressing for the soup. So you pop a little bit of olive oil into a pan, little frying pan, and I'm going to add the diced chorizo. And let that just cook away. You need the olive oil because it's going to be part of the drizzle. If you think I've put quite a lot in there, you actually do need that. And that's going to sizzle away. And I'm now going to add the chilli and the garlic and just let that sizzle away for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. It will go very quickly, so be careful not to burn the garlic because it tastes really bitter once it goes. Just keep that moving around. And we're going to turn that off and leave that on one side until we finish the soup. And then we'll just drizzle that over the top. Delicious. Okay, my garlic's now turning, so I'm going to turn that off and pop it on one side. Okay, I'm now ready to whiz the soup and get it all blended up. So this is going to be a bit noisy. We're just going to show you very quickly. And it goes to a beautiful green, emerald green. So I've now whizzed the soup and it's a beautiful colour. I haven't cooked the rocket and the spinach for too long to retain the colour, and it will retain all its goodness and vitamins and minerals that are also essential to support our immune system. And I'm going to put that on one side now and get the focaccia cooked. So the focaccia's now come out of the oven. As you can see, it's risen and it looks yummy, and we've cut it up so it's nice and light and fresh. We put the soup in the bowl and drizzled over the chorizo, garlic and chilli drizzle. The parmesan tuile has gone on with some edible flowers and some rocket, and I'm just going to serve it now with some focaccia bread, and there we have it.